You are listening to Season 2 of The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, the short and often daily podcast in which I chronicle my life and attempt to be a writer by writing daily. Sometimes. Hello, it is Sunday the 9th of March 2025 and you're listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, and I'm not in Texas and I'm not in Brighton. I'm in my house playing with Lego because I'm a grown-up. No, I've had a really nice weekend. So yesterday, as I said, you heard me speak to the organiser yesterday, but I was at the Dark Side of Brighton Literary Festival, which focused on crime fiction of various different sorts. So there were different panels. Some were about one was about people who had police characters, particularly DIs. There was one about, historical murder mysteries. One about female killers. There were lots of panels, and it was a really, really interesting day. And I'm going to just shout out to Donna Morfitt, who I spoke to. So firstly, thank you so much for taking sort of 5 or 6 minutes of your time yesterday to speak to me, particularly as you must have been exhausted because it was the end of the day, and but it was a really, really good day. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, and it's very interesting. It's opened my eyes a little bit to, I think, the whole of the publishing industry. Because it's very interesting that there are many authors out there who haven't got a lot of good things to say about editors and publishers. They usually like their agents. I think that has to be a given, really. But so it's really, really interesting the way it seems to work. It does seem quite a tough world out there, and I'm not wondering whether I should now involve myself in it or anything silly like that, because at the end of the day, I enjoy writing. If anything else happens on top of it, that's a bonus. But yeah, it was just a really interesting, eye-opening day. I went there principally with my friend Tani Campbell, who writes, well, you've heard of talked on here before. I probably don't need to introduce her again because I've mentioned her enough times. But yeah, so she was on one of the panels about crime fiction, sort of historical crime fiction. And it was just a fascinating day. And all of the authors were really approachable and really nice. I got several, given that it's not my genre, I came away with several books signed by the authors that I will be reading at some point. Some of them sounded quite interesting. So there was one genre which I hadn't even considered as a genre, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to click out of my app and go somewhere else to find it. I think it was called something noir. Hang on. Domestic noir, which is a really interesting sounding genre. So I will be having a look at something in that genre, and it might be something sort of I might be interested in writing. I don't know. Of all the genres, the different kind of crime genres they talked about yesterday, I think that was the one that was the closest to my heart, and that tends to be sort of weird stuff that happens around the home, husbands that or wives that kill their husbands or whatever, and it can be a lot more complicated than that. That's generalizing exceedingly, but no, it's definitely some food for thought. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. And I'm not going to make a regular feature out of it, but I think I will in the future get some other authors on, if I can, for short little chats to pop on the podcast if nobody thinks that's an appalling idea. And even if they do, I'm going to do it anyway because I like the idea. No, it was a really, really good day. Got home today. Again, not going to attempt to do any writing today because I'm exceedingly tired. I didn't really have my normal recovery day off after my Houston trip. So I was on the go most of that day, most of yesterday. Obviously, I've driven home from Brighton today, and thanks to them closing a chunk of the M25 because they're tearing a bridge down, there was a nice 45-minute diversion it took 45 minutes, but it felt like it took a lot longer than that. So that's good. And the final thing I'm briefly going to mention today is I just want to shout out to a friend of mine who is a bridal seamstress who's just had rather a unpleasant experience with one of her customers. I'm not going to name the customer or the seamstress, but basically it turns out one of her customers found out that she was LGBTQ friendly and decided she didn't want my friend to be her seamstress anymore. My friend very professionally put on her social media that it had happened, didn't mention any names or anything, but just it had upset her and said that it upset her, didn't mention the name of the person. And then since then, that person has kind of realised, firstly, that, you know, a good bridal seamstress is quite hard to get your hands on. And my friend's reviews are stunning. I've not read anything, you know. I'm hoping she doesn't get too many repeat customers, because I can't imagine there's going to be that many people who have a lot of weddings close together. But, you know, she gets lovely feedback, and she's obviously very, very good at what she does. And this person apparently came back to her and said they weren't very impressed that she'd shared, even though no names were mentioned at all, so nobody would have any clue who this person is, and then asked if she could have her appointment back. I'm sure you can tell what the polite answer was, but my friend has put a shout out to see if there's anybody who can help her. But yeah, I just thought, and my friend is, I said, I don't mention names unless they're a fellow writer or someone I've checked with mentioning names. I don't mention names on here before, but she was obviously very upset that somebody had basically decided not to use her purely because of her values. And as she said quite rightly, I don't change my values. They're what they are. So just a little shout out to you. I know you listen to this, and I know you know who you are. So I think you made absolutely the right decision. And I don't think you were nasty at all. You certainly didn't mention any names. And I think the outcome is rather interesting. But I also think it speaks volumes about you, that you are now, although you've said you don't want to be the person who looks after that person's wedding dress, you have actively shouted out for someone to do it. So if the lady sees that, I can't imagine she'll have anything to complain about, because you are doing your best to help her, even though you've said yourself you don't think you're the right fit for her. But yes, just one, I know that happened a few days ago. It's been happening over the last few days, and I've had a lot to talk about on here for the last few days, so I just thought I'd mention that. Anyway, that's me for today. Tomorrow, hopefully, I'm going to do some writing. In fact, hopefully, I'm going to sign off chapter 43. And by signing off chapter 43, the first draft of Empress of the Trees, will it happen? Well, there's only one place to find out, and it's right here tomorrow. So you'd better listen. Take care. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye. You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. For more information about what I'm writing, go to linktr.ee/Richard Writes, capital R, capital W, where you can find details of my website and social media. I may see you there.